Hello and welcome back to the Fundamentally Fit podcast with me, your host, Andy Strong, and good morning, good afternoon and good evening to wherever it is that you are listening to this podcast today. And it is officially our second podcast of the new year, but it's the first one where I'm actually back talking to you. We had a guest on last week, which I pre-recorded. We had Jens Jacob Anderson on, so I hope you all enjoyed that. Denmark's fastest 5k runner. It was a great podcast, great to have him on. If you haven't checked that out, please go back and check it out after this podcast, or before if you prefer. But it is my first official podcast back of 2018, so happy new year. It's slightly belated. I had a bit of a break over Christmas, which was really nice. I managed to get some downtime. Unfortunately, I was ill, like so many of the people that went through or have come through my door since Christmas, and actually quite a few before as well. So that was a bit disappointing, but I managed to get some downtime, managed to get some rest, recuperate, and get ready for the new year and ready to take everything on. Now, our topic for today is protein. How important is protein for weight loss, specifically for weight loss? It kind of is one of those things that gets blown up out of proportion. It is in the media all the time. It is quite prevalent at the moment, obviously, because we are still heavily in diet season, which that will pass quite soon. Don't worry. Rest assured, everyone will become a little bit less excited about eating well and exercising, and hopefully that's not you. And hopefully those of you out there that are motivated and actually want to make some real serious change, all of those distractions that are out there in the press and in the media are going to start to calm down, and then you can take some really positive steps forward without being bombarded with garbage. Right. What I want to talk about first this week is actually a product that I've been working on, and I talked about this in a podcast tail end of the autumn, and actually I've been working really hard on it, and it is so close to being ready to launch now. I've actually built an online course. It's an online coaching program, and it's actually a completely new service that I'm going to be adding. So one of the struggles I have at the moment is that I am geographically quite restricted. So I love working with all the people here in Walton-on-Thames and Weybridge. I love seeing you guys and girls one-to-one. I love the coaching you for nutrition. I love seeing you progress with your running and your personal training and all of those different things. But I wanted something that was going to help me reach out, something that was going to help me kind of, help anybody anywhere in the UK, and that really is what this course is all about. So this course is called the Fundamentally Fit Blueprint, or the Blueprint Program. It will be launching officially at the start of February. I'm going to be doing a soft launch probably next week, and I'm going to be gathering names for pre-launch. So if you were interested in some of the initial details of this, once I've kind of described it, there'll be a link down in the bottom where you can go and pop your name down. There will be a few early bird discounts, so if you are interested, please make sure you get your name down on that list. But the idea of the course is basically, it's all about coaching. It's all about coaching you through those changes that you struggle with. It's about coaching you to a happier, healthier place. But it's really about helping you develop those skills to be confident and self-sustaining in your diet and in your lifestyle change for the future. So what does that mean? Well, there is a private members area, and there is a lot of content. And basically, the way this is going to work is that you will work your way through the content on the course. There's videos for every different topic. There's plenty of handouts and additional information and learning material. And then every 2 weeks, or more if you want, but every 2 weeks there will be a coaching call with myself, and we'll be focusing on those specific areas that you need help and you need more support. So the whole process with Blueprint kicks off where we look at the basic skills for success. We'll be teaching you about trigger foods. We'll be teaching you about kind of fresh start foods, some of the things you should be trying to include. We're going to educate you on portion control, teach you how to meal plan and prep. I'm going to teach you about the importance of macronutrients, which is your carbs, your fats and your proteins, which is something we're going to touch on a little bit today in the podcast. I'm going to teach you a little bit about why 28-day meal plans really aren't the way to go if you're looking for lasting success. I'm also going to then move you on to another section which is called the leaky bucket, and I'm going to educate you on all of the things that I see clients kind of fall down on. These are the things that kind of get missed, and when we start to see some progress, these are the things that really start to hold people back. So helping people understand the importance of controlling their alcohol intake, intake, the importance of hydration, how sleep and stress play a leading role in how successful you'll be with your weight loss and your transformation, helping you to understand how we actually burn different types of calories and how you can actually do something about it. I'm going to help you understand how you can eat out and eat more sensibly when eating on the go. There is just so much information. I could spend a full podcast just talking all about this exciting new product. The most important thing about the Blueprint program is the coaching. Now, there is a lot of information and a lot of support that's gone into this online platform, and it looks fantastic. I'm so excited to show it to everybody. But the most important thing really is the coaching. I have designed this course to give you the education and the background support so that when I actually coach you via Skype or face-to-face, if you're lucky enough to live nearby, we can really hone in and focus on the specific areas that you need help. This is something I've always struggled with, is when you're in a session with someone, you need to provide so much education and support to get them to the point where they're ready to actually talk about the specifics in their diet. And so I've designed the course that you can do that in your own time. You can work your way through the material, and then when we get to your coaching session, we are absolutely on it and we are moving you forward, and we are asking you the difficult questions. We're helping you find ways to overcome those barriers, and we're doing it in a way that gives you maximum support all through the week and all through the month. Important to say as well, the whole process with Blueprint kicks off with a look at your own diet. There's an in-depth dietary analysis, and again, that's all led up with a coaching call where we go into a lot of detail on how you can actually start to make some positive steps forward. So I've actually already talked about that a lot more than I'd anticipated in this podcast, but I am really excited about the Blueprint program. My intention for this year is to continue with my PT clients, is to continue with my one-to-one coaching, because I love training people and seeing them progress. But I'm looking to expand heavily in my with my online course and in my online presence. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please do just share it, send it to a friend. Please help me get the word out there, help people know about what it is I'm trying to do, and hopefully I can help them, even if it is just with the support of the podcast and the blogs and the things that I'm doing online. I'm also, once Blueprint is launched, I will be then moving on to project number 3, which will be live courses, and I'm basically looking to set up live workshops based on my Blueprint coaching program, where I can take small groups of 8 to 10 people through exactly the same process. And so there'll be more on that as the year goes on. But for now, as I said, head down into the link or the description and pop your name on the pre-sale list if you're interested and you want to get your name down just to find out a little bit more information. But for today, let's jump into the podcast. Let's actually give you some information, because I've been telling you all about me, which is not a great way to start the new year. I should be asking about you. How you doing? How has your Christmas gone? How has your January gone so far? Hopefully it's been successful, and hopefully you're not falling into the same kind of traps that people do every year. But if you have, and you're feeling a little lighter of pocket and not of waistband, stick around. I'm going to teach you some things today which kind of get mixed up in the ether, as most of them do, and hopefully you're going to walk away with something that's going to leave you feeling a little bit better about everything. So, protein, everybody's favorite macronutrient, and it's called protein is a macronutrient, and it's called a macronutrient, and it's basically one of 3 macronutrients, the other being carbohydrate, which everybody thinks is terrible, protein, which everybody thinks is great, and fat, which nobody's really very sure about anymore. And so today we're going to be talking about protein. Now, protein has got a very, very positive reputation in health and in the fitness space, particularly for helping people lose weight. And the reason for that is because there have been a raft of studies that have indicated that it is beneficial for helping people to shed the pounds. Now, the reason for this is that protein has it's quite slow digesting, which is a really good thing. So when you eat something that's high in protein, it means that it takes a little bit longer to digest than, say, a carbohydrate-based food, or something that's got a lot of added sugar in, like a chocolate bar or ice cream or something like that. So the idea and the simple principle is, if you eat more protein, it takes longer to digest, it's going to fill you up for longer, and therefore you're not going to eat as much, and you're going to lose weight as a result. In a nutshell, well, that's basically what the whole podcast is about. Unfortunately, these things, as they do, can be taken in lots of different directions, and protein is one of those ones that's heavily getting jumped on. That has really for the last 18 months, but it's becoming, in my opinion, much more prevalent in the mainstream in the last few months. So types of foods that would include protein. So if we're looking at animal-based protein, that's going to be things like chicken. It's going to be things like it's going to be poultry, so chicken and turkey. It's going to be things like beef and pork. It's also going to be things like pheasant or anything like that, or guinea fowl, partridge, anything that is basically an animal-based meat. That will be an animal-based protein. But you've also got some other animal-based proteins as well, and that's going to be things like dairy. So it's going to be things like eggs and cheese and milk. They'll also contain a lot of animal-based protein as well. Now, some of you may have heard the expression plant-based eating or plant-based protein, and I'm sure there's quite a few vegetarians and vegans listening to this as well. And don't worry, I'm not going to forget you, because I eat a lot of plant-based protein as well. And plant-based protein basically means that it is protein that comes from plants. It's simple as that. It's going to include things like tofu, and it's going to be things like lentils. It's going to be things like pulses. It's going to be things like nuts as well. So just a few examples there. Now, however you choose to get your protein, and there are lots of arguments over animal protein being a better source of protein than plant-based protein. A few people that are actually deficient in protein anyway, and there are lots of people following vegan diets, and they don't suffer from protein deficiency. However, that's not really a topic I want to delve in too deeply today. What I'm really more interested in is the weight loss aspect. Because protein has been linked to studies that indicate it's good for weight loss, for the reasons we said, it makes you feel full, takes longer to digest. It's become very, very popular to follow a high protein diet. Now, this has gone to extremes with something like paleo, where everything is heavily driven towards meat-based products and eggs and cheese and all of those types of things, where you're eating on what they claim to be closer to a Paleolithic or caveman style diet, and it's very, very, very high in protein. Now, the problem with this is the potential to get too much in the way of saturated fats in your diet. And actually, having followed a high protein diet a couple of times in my life, I only ever manage it for a very short period of time, because you do just feel so incredibly full and sluggish and just not in a very good way. So for me personally, this type of diet doesn't appeal to me. I don't feel great on it, but everybody is different. The problem with the high protein diet, if you're starting to look at animal products, is you potentially are bringing in a lot of saturated fat. If you start bringing in a lot of saturated fat, or fat in general, you're going to start bringing the calories in your diet up quite a lot. So you do need to make sure that your portions really are under control, and it can be easy to be led into thinking that a high protein diet means, okay, I'm just eating protein, I can eat as much as I want. Now, if you do that, unfortunately, you're going to get into the situation where you're going to overeat in terms of calories, because your calories always have to be balanced in terms of your lifestyle. So if you're someone that's sat working at a desk 8 hours a day, a higher protein diet's a good idea. It's going to make you feel fuller for longer. It's going to mean you're going to snack less while you're sat at your desk. But it does still need to be in context, because if you're thinking, I can just eat protein all day long and I'll lose weight because protein helps you lose weight, protein doesn't help you lose weight just by eating it. Protein helps you lose weight by the fact that you don't eat as much, because it fills you up more. So it isn't as straightforward as, right, I'm eating protein, I'll lose weight, I'll eat as much as I can because it's quote unquote healthy. It doesn't really work like that. It's a case of looking at how active you are, in terms of how active your day is, how active is your private life, do you do a lot of exercise, walking, training, all those types of things, and how many calories do you actually need for a day, and then is making sure that you've got the right balance of protein within that calorie range, not a case of saying, right, I'm just going to eat stack loads of protein because quote unquote protein helps you lose weight. That's where a lot of people go wrong with this concept. Now, for me, as a nutrition coach, and when I'm working with people, one of the most important things we want to do when we're looking at the specifics of their diet is we want to make sure that we set the macros in the correct order, and we always want to make sure that we set them up with adequate amounts of protein. And the reason for this, and this kind of will tie into a lot of how the diet industry and the diets out there work, is that we want to make sure they have enough protein in their diet, because obviously, we want to make sure that they're feeling full. We want to make sure that they're not over consuming the bad types of food, your chocolates, your fizzy drinks, all of that kind of stuff that I'm sure everybody listening to this already knows, even if they're doing it or not. But we want to make sure that we have adequate amounts of protein. Now, the really important reason that we want to do this is because we want them to be able to maintain their lean muscle. Now, you will have some people that are training to build more lean muscle, that's fine, and you'll have people that are trying to lose weight. But ultimately, in the context of today's podcast, where we're looking at someone trying to lose weight, we need them to maintain their muscle mass. And this is really important because a lot of the diets out there will just cut a really large amount of calories. You will think that you've lost weight really quickly, and actually all that's happening is you're losing glycogen and water, which is stored energy, stored carbohydrates, which is stored in the muscles and in the liver. So you kind of wash all of that out of your system, so you lose that readily available energy supply, you use them up, they're gone, and so you think, oh my god, I've looked at the scale, I've lost a lot of weight, and it's not fat, it's not body fat, it's just scale weight. It's the kind of stripping away some of the early stores, which will be replenished as soon as you eat carbohydrates and have something to drink again. But in terms of protein, one of the things the body does is once it's gone through this early stage and you see a drop in scale weight, not body fat, the body will then start to break down muscle. Now, you might think to yourself, well, the body's going to default break down fat because that's what I want it to do. Unfortunately, it isn't what the body does. It will certainly start to break down some of your fat reserves, but it finds it much more simple, much more straightforward in the early stages to start to break down muscle. And this is a big problem because if you start to break down muscle, then you will in effect start to bring down your lean muscle stores, and that's going to have the effect of lowering your metabolism, because if you have more lean muscle, if you was to have more lean muscle right now listening to this podcast, sat down wherever you are, you'd be burning more calories. So more lean muscle equals higher metabolism equals more calorie burn. Now, while that is true, don't get too carried away, because quite often the numbers of calorie burn are not as high as people think. So when you talk about being turned into a fat burning machine, usually that's media hype, that's marketing hype. The numbers we're talking about here are not as dramatic as you think, and actually the scale at which people need to eat and what they do eat is not as dramatic as people often think either. So coming back to what I was saying, we always set protein first, and the reason for that is because we want to make sure that if someone is losing weight, that they have adequate protein intake to maintain the muscle stores that they have. This means that when we're trying to calculate their start point and the calories they need to cut out, that we are going to see fat loss, and we're not going to promote the body to go into a position where it's starting to break down muscle. Now, this isn't always entirely avoidable, but we want to limit that as much as possible. Now, the big problem here is if you're just going on a rapid weight loss diet, you're seeing a loss of carbohydrate stores from the muscle, you're seeing a lot of loss of stored water retention, and then you're starting to see muscle breakdown and then some fat breakdown as well. That means the vast majority of what you're seeing on the scales for your 2 or 3 week January detox, cleanse, super diet, juicing, pill popping extravaganza isn't actually delivering what you think. And the big problem here is that if you don't have adequate amounts of protein to maintain those muscle stores, when you come off of your diet and you go back to eating normally and you say, okay, I've lost half a stone, I'm going to go back to eating how I was normally because I know I maintain my weight. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, you're going to start putting weight on because now your metabolism has dropped a little bit. You're not burning as many calories at rest because all of a sudden, you haven't got as much lean muscle stores. Now, this is quite I'm exaggerating this concept slightly, but people do over a long period of time where they keep going on these diets and off these diets do get to a position where I've met individuals that can't lose weight on 1,000 calories or less. And then you have to go through the very complex process of reverse dieting where you actually build them back up. And that is it's not a fun place to be. So protein, just to kind of recap, protein, really, really important to help you lose weight because it helps you feel fuller for longer. Doesn't mean you can eat as much as you want. Really good for helping you lose weight because it digests more slowly. So that means you're going to, in effect, not snack as often. Protein also really, really important because it's going to help you maintain your muscle stores while you're losing weight. So getting good quality sources of protein in there, really important. And also making sure that you're picking lean sources of protein, not high saturated fat options like fried chicken or too much red meat, for example. Now, there's one more thing I want to talk about in terms of protein today. When we are out buying our protein-based foods and drinks and supplements and all those types of things, whey protein is a useful tool in your toolkit, but it is not essential. Now, whey protein is a convenient way to increase your protein intake. You can have a shake with water. It's about 120, 150 calories, depending on which brand you buy, and it will have a very, very high amount of protein, usually about 20 grams roughly. It's going to make you feel quite full for quite a while. It can be a really easy way if you're on the go, something you can carry in your bag, you can take to work, job done, you fit that into your routine. However, a supplement is never going to be as good quality, as higher quality as if you have real food. So you could have a turkey bagel, you could have a hard-boiled egg with some spinach, you could have some nuts and seeds. There's lots of different ways you can get your protein intake up to help you feel fuller for longer. If you feel a whey protein supplement is going to be something that helps you, you can certainly consider it, but it isn't essential, and I just wanted to point that out today. Right. That is going to conclude the first official second podcast. First one of the year? Yeah, first podcast of the year. Protein for weight loss. So interesting topic. It's really, really broad. I could go down lots and lots of different directions, but trying to keep this podcast condensed into sort of roughly the 20-minute mark. I think we've covered some interesting ground there. Hopefully you found this useful. If you want some more clarity on this, you want some more coaching advice, please get in touch, andy@fundamentallyfit.co.uk. Be happy to jump on a Skype call, give you some advice, give you a coaching session, and see if I can't help you tidy up your own diet. Please feel free to get in touch for that. If not, pop some questions down, head over to Facebook, or give us a thumbs up on SoundCloud or on iTunes. Let us know what you think. How have you got on with protein in your diet? Have you tried a very high protein diet? How did you feel? Was it something that made you feel better? Did you struggle with it? And actually, what does high protein mean to you? So I am Andy Strong, talking to you for the first time this year about protein for the benefit of weight loss. I hope this has helped. Hope this has kick-started your year, and if it hasn't, I hope it certainly has picked you up at the end of January, because there's 11 months left to go. So if you're feeling a bit despondent, don't feel down. Pick yourself up, head over to the Fundamentally Fit website, check out this week's blog. I'm talking about SAD, seasonal affective disorder, real condition, but if you're feeling winter depression, as it's sometimes known, head over, check that blog out. It's a good read, and hopefully you'll be able to pick yourself up soon. You can tidy up your diet, you can do all those things, because guess what, people? Regardless of the scaremongering about snow, it is nearly spring. It's just around the corner. All we got to do now is dig in, and brighter days are heading our way. Have a fantastic week, and I will look forward to chatting with you next time.